What does Sacred Heart mean to me? It is certainly my home parish. It's the parish that reflects and enkindles the memory of raising a large family. It's the parish that has generated lifelong friendships. It's the parish that I've experienced the whole gamut of life, from baptism to confirmation, First Communion, funerals. Life is what Sacred Heart really reflects to me. And interestingly, it continues. Certainly at this stage in my life, it's different than it was when I was a younger person, but it's still home.
For 100 years, Sacred Heart Parish has served as the cherished mother and home of thousands of Catholic families living in Berks County. Over the course of 10 decades, modern life has undergone remarkable changes, and through it all, Sacred Heart has honored its commitment to faith, family, and community. By the dawn of the 20th century, Reading was undergoing notable industrial expansion. The lure of jobs brought significant population growth to the area. Among the newcomers were many Catholics. Monsignor George Bornemann of St. Paul Parish in Reading recommended to Archbishop Edmund Prendergast that a new parish be established west of the Schuylkill River. In 1916, he purchased land at the southwest corner of 8th and Hill Avenues in Wyomissing. The site was directly across the street from the knitting mill complex of the Wyomissing Industries, which was a source of employment for many parishioners. On that spot, the Sacred Heart of Jesus Church was built. Father Charles Bornemann, the nephew of Monsignor Bornemann, was named the founding pastor of the new parish, which numbered 180 people. The combination church and school was completed and put into service in July 1919. The church occupied the first floor, and a two-room school was on the second floor. A small apartment provided living quarters for two sisters of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, the school's first teachers. In the years that followed, the parish grew by leaps and bounds. School records show steady growth from 70 students in 1925 to 129 in 1930. Mindful of the growth of the parish and foreseeing that it would continue, Father Bornemann took steps to relocate the parish. He purchased two homes in the area, one to serve as a rectory and the other as a convent for the expanding number of sisters teaching in the school. When Father Bornemann was transferred in 1928, the task to fulfill his vision passed to Father John Wachter. In exchange for the Hill Avenue property, Father Wachter received $50,000 in cash and a parcel of land bounded by Lakeview Drive, Cherry Street, 7th Avenue, and Franklin Street in West Reading. The new building to be erected on the corner of Franklin Street and 7th Avenue would be a combination church and school made of local granite. Cardinal Doherty laid the cornerstone in 1929, and the new church was blessed on May 4th, 1930, by Bishop Gerald O'Hara.
I have a very fond memory as a youngster in the middle to late 30s of staying with my grandmother who lived in Shillington, and at that time, Sacred Heart was the only parish west of the Schuylkill River. And I can remember driving along Museum Road, and it was then country, coming to Sacred Heart and attending Mass in what is now the school hall. Interestingly, the crucifix that is now in the back of the chapel was the crucifix at the altar at that time.
During the next decade, the parish continued to steadily grow. By 1940, 175 students were enrolled in the school. A new rectory was purchased at 101 and 103 South 7th Avenue. The year 1943 would prove to be significant in the life of Sacred Heart. Father Theodore Wagner was named the new pastor. Four years later, Sacred Heart became the mother parish for St. John Baptist de La Salle Parish in Shillington. Sacred Heart experienced its greatest development and biggest challenge during the 1950s. With 3,000 parishioners and 460 school children, both church and school were overcrowded. So, in 1956, the parish began planning to expand the school and build a new church. On July 24, 1960, Monsignor Wagner broke ground for the new church at the corner of Franklin Street and Lakeview Drive. Nearly 2 years later, he celebrated the first Mass in the stunning new church. In 1965, Sacred Heart once again gave birth to a daughter parish, St. Ignatius of Loyola. 475 families were transferred to the new parish in Whitfield. Nevertheless, Sacred Heart continued to thrive as a lively faith community. Programs for youth, such as CCD, CYO, Boy Scouts, and Girl Scouts flourished. Graduates of the parish school enrolled in the recently built Holy Name High School and quickly came to appreciate the excellent preparation they had received at Sacred Heart.
I still think the Catholic school is the place to be, because it's not just the ABCs and the 3 R's, and there's a 4th R, and that's religion, and not just the book religion, but the faith religion, which, emanates from everything that goes on within the school.
Women of the parish were active in the Sacred Heart Society, and men participated in the Holy Name Society and the Knights of Columbus.
In joining the Sacred Heart Society, I was among the younger mothers, and we had a lot of the older ones whose children are no longer in school but belong to the society, and those women were a role model for us younger mothers, and they taught us a lot. I remember the cake sales we had, the Christmas bazaars, we had dances, we 8th grade graduation communion breakfasts. I've worked with many of the priests and many of the sisters and the community, and they've taught me a lot, as well as working with the women in the parish. You learn from one another, and it has been a great experience.
After having served 36 years as pastor of Sacred Heart, Monsignor Wagner died on June 20th, 1979. Leadership of the parish passed to Father Alfred Ott, the 4th pastor of Sacred Heart. Parish leaders launched a capital campaign to finance a new rectory and sorely needed parish center.
At that point, Monsignor Ott came in, and I think he was noted as a builder, and the parish center, which Monsignor Wagner had saved and put money aside for, was actually then built by under the instruction or whatever of Monsignor Ott.
After raising the needed funds, the parish center and rectory complex was completed in 1982. The buildings were constructed of granite, taken from the same quarries used for the school and the church, thus tying all of the parish facilities together into a cohesive and impressive campus. In 1987, Father Ott spearheaded another construction project, the remodeling of the church's interior to better adapt the space for worship and evolving needs. Among other changes, the aisles were widened, the sanctuary was given a makeover, and the confessionals were modified to accommodate face-to-face penance. Also outside, the large plaza and staircases leading to the church from the street were reduced in size. In 1989, Father James Reichert, a former assistant during the time of Monsignor Wagner, was named pastor. Following the celebration of the parish's 75th anniversary in 1992, Father Reichert and his flock embarked on a capital campaign to help fund a complete school renovation. The project included an addition to the school consisting of an expanded library on the first floor and a meeting room on the second floor. A loggia was built to connect the second floor of the school to the church. Granite from the original quarries was used once again for the new structures. In 2000, it was determined that the original aluminum bell tower was no longer safe to use. To replace it, a 65-foot granite campanile was erected on the corner of Lakeview Drive and Cherry Street. In June 2003, Father Joseph DeSantis was named the 6th pastor of Sacred Heart Parish. A student of architecture, design, and liturgical arts, Father, together with a design firm and a parish committee, embarked on a project to repair, renovate, and restore the church. A major objective was to preserve the integrity of the original design while making the overall plan well-balanced, user-friendly, and pleasing to the eye. Also, it needed to remain faithful to liturgy, ritual, and Western Catholic Church architecture. The project took more than 2 3/4 years, from the first meeting to the consecration of the altar and church rededication on December 17, 2006, by Bishop Edward Cullen. Today, Sacred Heart Parish continues to play an important role in the lives of its people, its neighborhoods, and in the Diocese of Allentown.
Well, Sacred Heart is my parish, so it's part of my life. And through the church is how I'm going to get to heaven. So it's very important in my life.
Yeah, I enjoy very much for the parish here. I feel the parishioner in here very close and very friendly, and they always share together and have together. When every time the church needs something, I feel everybody to join us and share with everyone.
I would say life without Sacred Heart for us would be like life without eating every day. We are so grounded in what we do with our faith and starting with our marriage, even though we weren't married here at Sacred Heart, but many of the sacraments for our children have happened here. It has become such an integrated part in our lives that I don't know what we do without a place to ground ourselves.
Sacred Heart's important to me because, well, first of all, Bill and I got married on the Feast of the Sacred Heart. So we feel like this is our home. And it feels important because there's always someone here that if you have a problem, they're willing to talk to you about it. Not only the priests, but the other people who are in the parish. You can come out of church on a Sunday morning and you see them all going over to the pastors and, you know, saying, "Good morning, Father," and whatever. And you can tell that they care. And if you had something to talk about, you knew where to go. That's important.
I feel that the parish life has really played an important part of who I am today. And of course, I have to thank the Sacred Heart for planning our family here, which is the best parish in the diocese.
I think we have a number of strong points. I think our organizations are becoming stronger and stronger. I remember when I first got here and I would go to St. Vincent de Paul Society meetings, we'd have maybe 5 people. Now we have 15, 20 people, and the number of people who belong to it are much larger because the work and the scope and the enthusiasm of the people generates that enthusiasm and participation of the people in the parish. I think the success of our RCIA program comes to its fullness at each Easter Vigil celebration. The beauty of the ceremony itself, but to see the excitement and the joy in the people who are being drawn into the church, who are being baptized, being confirmed, helps to enforce the faith and reinforce the faith and strengthen the faith of the people who are sitting in the pews. Our school has an excellent reputation. Not to be a name dropper, but Cardinal O'Malley is a graduate of Sacred Heart grade school. And our children go on to other schools, high schools, Wyomissing, or to Berks Catholic, and are quite successful. And we have many successful professionals who have entered into the world who went to Sacred Heart. So I think those are very strong points. And I think as a community, as a worshiping community, I think we are very strong and very vibrant. Outside priests who come here to celebrate Mass like to come here because it's a community that worships together. Years ago, when I graduated from college at St. Charles Borromeo Seminary, our program cover said, "For all that has been, thanks. For all that will be, yes." And so that's what our Jubilee is about. That's what I hope for the parish. That's what I want to say to the parish. Thank you for the time that I've been here, but not just me, but for the last 100 years that Sacred Heart has been a witness to the community in Western Berks County. And to say yes to everything that's going to come with me here and for the generations that I hope that are yet to come. And so in Italian we say, Cent'anni, 100 years.
As we celebrate 100 years of faith, family, and community, we thank God for the many gifts He has bestowed on Sacred Heart Parish, and we ask Him to guide the generations of disciples of Jesus Christ who will follow in our footsteps.